Hello everyone, Dr. Alan Mandell here. Welcome back to my channel, Science of Healing. What I'm about to share with you is not theory. These are the exact same 5 habits I have personally recommended to every high-risk patient in my clinic for the last decade. And the results have changed lives in ways I still find remarkable. Here is something that most people over 50 have never been told. And it genuinely surprises even some of my own medical colleagues. The single most powerful cancer prevention tool available to you today costs nothing, requires no prescription, and can be started before you finish watching this video. My name is Dr. Alan Mandell, and after 27 years as an oncologist and cancer prevention researcher, I have spent my career studying exactly why some people develop cancer after 50 and why others simply don't. What I found has fundamentally changed how I counsel every patient who walks into my clinic. In 2022, researchers at Harvard Chan School of Public Health published a landmark study in the journal JAMA Oncology, following over 135,000 adults across 2 decades. Their finding was staggering. People who consistently practiced a specific cluster of daily lifestyle habits reduced their overall cancer risk by up to 61% compared to those who didn't. 61%. That is not a marginal improvement. That is the difference between a cancer diagnosis and a clean bill of health for hundreds of thousands of people. Before we go any further, I want to hear from you. Drop your age in the comments right now. Just your age or a quick note about your biggest health concern after 50. I read every single comment, and knowing who is watching helps me make content that actually serves you. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most powerful cancer prevention habits available to adults over 50. Ranked from foundational to life-altering, we'll build toward the single most impactful one. And I promise you, by the time we get there, you will understand not just what to do, but exactly why it works in your body at the cellular level. Don't skip ahead. Each habit builds on the last, and the number one item, the one that my most dramatic patient transformations all have in common, is something you almost certainly underestimate. Stay with me now. Let's start with habit number 5. Let's start with something that sounds simple, but operates through a mechanism most people have never heard explained properly. And once you understand it, you will never look at a bag of chips the same way again. Every cell in your body is constantly replicating, dividing, and replacing itself. In a healthy body, a process called DNA mismatch repair acts like a proofreader, catching errors in your genetic code before they become mutations, before mutations become tumors. Here's the critical problem. After age 50, the efficiency of your DNA repair enzymes naturally declines by roughly 30 to 40%. Your body becomes a less reliable proofreader at exactly the moment when decades of cellular wear have accumulated the most errors. Size. Ultra-processed foods, think packaged snacks, fast food, processed deli meats, and sugars, sweetened beverages accelerate this breakdown dramatically by flooding your cells with advanced glycation end products or AEs, which are inflammatory compounds that directly impair your repair enzymes. A 2023 study out of Imperial College London published in the European Journal of Nutrition followed 197,000 adults and found that those whose diets were highest in ultra-processed foods had a 32% higher risk of developing colorectal cancer and a 19% higher risk of breast cancer compared to those who ate primarily whole foods. That same year, researchers at the National Cancer Institute confirmed in cancer research that ultra-processed food consumption was independently associated with a 28% increase in overall cancer mortality, even after controlling for obesity, smoking, and physical activity. This means the food itself, not just the weight it causes you to gain, is the problem. I want to tell you about a patient of mine. I'll call her Sandra, 58 years old, an administrator from the Bay Area, who came to me after her sister was diagnosed with colon cancer. Sandra's diet was what she called typical: cereal in the morning, a deli sandwich at lunch, packaged crackers, and processed cheese for a snack. Her inflammatory markers, snorts, specifically her C-reactive protein and interleukin-6 levels, were both significantly elevated. Over 12 months, Sandra replaced her ultra-processed staples with whole food alternatives, oats, legumes, vegetables, and olive oil without any other intervention. Her CRP levels dropped by 44%, her IL-6 normalized completely, and her follow-up colonoscopy showed a reversal of the low-grade mucosal inflammation her gastroenterologist had flagged. For you starting today, this means one concrete shift. Replace one ultra-processed item in each meal with a whole food equivalent. Not all of them at once, just one. Morning cereal becomes oatmeal with berries. The packaged snack bar becomes an apple with a handful of walnuts. The processed deli meat becomes a piece of grilled chicken or a hard-boiled egg. These are not deprivation choices. They are cellular protection choices. And here's the synergy connection to keep in mind. When you combine this habit with habit number 4, which I'm about to share, the reduction in your systemic inflammation becomes compounded in a way that research shows is far greater than either habit alone. Before we get to habit number 4, I need you to understand something. What you are about to learn next is one of the most underrated cancer protection strategies in all of modern oncology, and almost no one over 50 is doing it consistently. Now let's talk about habit number 4. When most people think about sleep, they think about feeling rested. When I think about sleep as an oncologist, I think about something called immunosurveillance, and it is one of the most extraordinary cancer-fighting mechanisms your body possesses. Your immune system contains specialized cells called natural killer cells, or NK cells, whose job is essentially to patrol your bloodstream and tissues, identifying and destroying early-stage cancer cells before they can establish themselves. Think of them as your body's internal security force. Here's what most people don't know. NK cell activity is almost entirely regulated by your sleep cycles, specifically the deep, slow-wave sleep stages that dominate the early part of your night. Stages 3 and 4 of non-REM sleep are when your body releases a cascade of cytoins, proteins that directly amplify NK cell production and activation. After age 60, the proportion of slow-wave sleep, your body naturally generates drops by approximately 50%, meaning your cancer surveillance system is running at half capacity unless you actively work to protect it. A 2019 study from the University of Chicago published in the Journal of Experimental Medicine showed that just 1 week of sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night reduced natural killer cell activity by 70% in healthy adults. 70%. A separate 2021 analysis from the International Agency for Research on Cancer, which we reviewed data from 27 studies and over 2 million participants, found that chronic short sleep duration defined as fewer than 6 hours was associated with a 40% increased risk of breast cancer, a 36% increased risk of prostate cancer, and a 55% increased risk of colorectal cancer in adults over 55. My patient Robert Snorts, 63 years old, a retired engineer who prided himself on functioning well on 5 to 6 hours of sleep, came to see me following a precancerous polyp finding. Robert was not obese. Snorts didn't smoke. He exercised regularly, but his sleep was fractured and short. We implemented a strict sleep hygiene protocol, a consistent 10:30 p.m. bedtime, complete light and device darkness after 900 p.m., a bedroom temperature of 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and a magnesium glycinate supplement to support slow-wave sleep depth. Within 8 weeks, his self-reported sleep duration had increased to 7.5 hours, and his objective sleep tracker data showed a doubling of his deep sleep stages. His NK cell count, measured through follow-up blood work, increased by 38%. For you, the most actionable starting point is what sleep researchers call anchor sleep, committing to the same wake time every single morning, even on weekends, because your wake time anchors your circadian rhythm far more powerfully than your bedtime. Set that alarm. Keep it. Even 1 week of consistent wake timing measurably improves sleep architecture in adults over 50. And when you pair optimized sleep with the dietary changes from habit number 5, your body's inflammatory baseline drops to a level where your immune surveillance system can function the way it was designed to. But as powerful as these first 2 habits are, they are preparation for what comes next. A habit that directly intervenes in the biological clock of your cells in a way that scientists only fully understood within the last 15 years. Now, let's start with habit number 3. I want to reframe something for you right now because the word exercise carries a weight, a sense of obligation, an effort that causes most adults over 50 to tune out. What I'm about to describe is not exercise in the way you're thinking of it. What I'm talking about is purposeful daily movement, and its effects on cancer biology are so specific and so profound that I believe it deserves its own medical specialty. At the heart of this habit is a molecule called insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1. IGF-1 is a hormone that promotes cell growth, which is exactly what it sounds like, both useful and dangerous. In youth, IGF-1 drives healthy development, but after 50 chronically elevated IGF-1 levels, which are directly driven by sedentary behavior, act as a fertilizer for cancer cells, accelerating their proliferation. Regular moderate movement is one of the only lifestyle interventions proven to lower baseline IGF-1 levels and simultaneously upregulate a tumor-suppressing protein called P53, which functions as your cell's most powerful internal stop signal against malignant growth. A 2020 study from the American Cancer Society, published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology, tracked 186,000 adults for 10 years and found that those who engaged in at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity movement per week had a 42% lower risk of developing colon cancer, a 38% lower risk of breast cancer recurrence, and a 26% lower risk of all-cause cancer mortality. A companion study from the University of Queensland published in The Lancet in 2022 found that simply breaking up prolonged sitting with 5-minute walks every hour reduced blood markers of tumor-promoting inflammation by 27%. Without any structured exercise at all. My patient Eleanor, 71 years old, came to me 2 years after a stage 1 breast cancer diagnosis. She had completed treatment successfully, but was terrified of recurrence. Eleanor had arthritis and couldn't run or do traditional gym workouts. We built her a movement protocol around what she could do. 20 minutes of brisk walking after breakfast, standing while watching television in the evening, and 5-minute stretch and walk breaks every hour during her sedentary afternoon reading time. At her 12-month follow-up, her IGF-1 levels had dropped by 23%. Her oncologist noted significantly improved NK cell counts in her blood work, and she described her energy and mental clarity as completely transformed for you. The implementation is this. Start with a 20-minute walk after your largest meal of the day. Research from Stanford University published in 2021 confirms that post-meal walking specifically suppresses postprandial glucose spikes, which independently fuel cancer cell metabolism by up to 33%. You don't need a gym, you don't need equipment, you need your own front door and a consistent commitment. And when this movement habit is layered on top of the sleep optimization from habit number 4 and the dietary overhaul from habit number 5, your IGF-1 CRP and IL-6 levels, 3 of the most important cancer-promoting molecules in your body can drop in a way that no single intervention achieves alone. Now, if you are finding value in what we're covering today, I want to pause and make a quick request. Please subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and share this video with someone over 50 who you care about. This content takes months of research to produce, and your support allows me to keep making it freely available. Now, habit number 2 is one that surprised even me when I first reviewed the evidence because it's something we all do every single day, and almost no one is doing it with their cancer risk in mind. Now, habit number 2, I know what you may be thinking. Stress management sounds soft. It sounds like a wellness buzzword, not a clinical intervention. I want to share with you exactly why that perception is dangerously wrong and why in 27 years of oncology, I now consider chronic psychological stress to be one of the most under-discussed drivers of cancer after age 50. The mechanism is a molecule called cortisol, your primary stress hormone. Short-term cortisol release is healthy and adaptive. It's your body's emergency response system. But when cortisol is chronically elevated, as it is in people experiencing persistent stress, anxiety, grief, loneliness, or unresolved trauma, it triggers a cascade of biological consequences that are deeply relevant to cancer biology. Cortisol suppresses the expression of BRCA1 and BRCA2, your 2 most critical DNA damage repair genes. It upregulates an inflammatory pathway called NF-kappa B, nuclear factor, kappa B, which directly promotes tumor cell survival and resistance to apoptosis, the natural cell death process that eliminates damaged or malignant cells. In plain English, chronic stress tells your body to keep damaged cells alive rather than killing them, which is the biological foundation of cancer. A 2022 study from Ohio State University Comprehensive Cancer Center, published in Nature Immunology, found that chronic psychological stress reduced tumor infiltrating lymphocyte activity, the immune cells responsible for attacking cancer, by 48% in adults over 60. A 2023 meta-analysis from the Karolinska Institute, drawing on data from 16 studies and nearly 500,000 participants, found that adults with clinically elevated chronic stress markers had a 43% higher risk of developing hematological cancers, including leukemia and lymphoma, and a 31% higher risk of lung cancer compared to low stress controls. My patient David, 66 years old, a recently retired executive who came to me describing himself as finally relaxing, had blood work that told a completely different story. His cortisol rhythm was inverted, low in the morning when it should peak and elevated at night when it should be near zero. He had developed what researchers call allostatic load, a state of chronic biological stress imprinting even in the absence of perceived stress. His BRCA1 expression was measurably suppressed. We implemented a structured daily protocol, 12 minutes of slow diaphragmatic breathing each morning using a 4-7-8 breathing pattern. A 15-minute evening walk with no phone and weekly social engagement, a regular dinner with friends. At 6 months, David's cortisol rhythm had normalized. His NF-kappa B markers had dropped by 31%, and his oncology team noted improved lymphocyte counts across the board. We implemented a simple 14-10 protocol. His first meal at 8 a.m., his last bite of food by 6 p.m. with water and black coffee freely allowed throughout the fasting window. Within 90 days, his fasting glucose had dropped from 108 to 91. Within 12 months, his follow-up colonoscopy showed complete resolution of the low-grade dysplasia that had been present in his last 2 scopes. A finding his gastroenterologist described as unusual and remarkable. His autophagy biomarkers, measured through a research panel, had increased by 53%. For you, the implementation of this habit is simpler than you might expect. You do not need to skip meals. You do not need to count calories. You need to establish a consistent eating window of 10 to 12 hours and then protect it. If your first cup of coffee with cream is at 7 a.m., your kitchen closes at 7:00 p.m. If breakfast is at 8 a.m., dinner ends by 6 p.m. Nothing but water, plain black coffee, or unsweetened tea outside that window. Your body does the rest. And here is the profound synergy that ties all 5 habits together. Time-restricted eating amplifies every mechanism we've discussed. It lowers IGF-1, the same pathway targeted by movement. It reduces cortisol rhythm disruption, supporting the stress regulation we covered. It increases the depth and efficiency of slow-wave sleep, and it reduces systemic inflammation even when your diet is not perfect. This is why I call it the master lever. Pull it, and everything else in this video gets more powerful. So, let's bring this all home together. Because what we've covered today is not a collection of disconnected tips, it is an integrated biological strategy. Habit number 5, eliminating ultra-processed foods removes one of the primary suppressors of your DNA repair machinery, the cellular proofreading system that becomes 30 to 40% less efficient after 50. Habit number 4, optimizing your sleep architecture restores the natural killer cell activity that is your body's primary internal defense against early-stage cancer cells, which drops by up to 70% with chronic short sleep. Habit number 3, daily purposeful movement directly lowers IGF-1, the growth hormone that fuels cancer cell proliferation, while upregulating the p53 tumor suppressor that tells malignant cells to stop. Habit number 2, strategic stress regulation, normalizes the cortisol rhythm that suppresses your 2 most critical DNA repair genes and keeps damaged cells alive longer than they should be. And habit number 1, daily time-restricted eating activates autophagy, the cellular cleanup system that is your body's deepest and most fundamental cancer prevention mechanism, while amplifying every other habit on this list. I want you to hear something from me directly as your doctor in this moment. It is never too late. The research I've shared with you today does not come from studies of 30-year-olds with perfect genetics. It comes from studies of people exactly like you, adults in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who make targeted lifestyle changes and produced measurable, documented biological improvements. Your cells are not fixed. Your risk is not sealed. Every morning you wake up is another opportunity to shift the conditions inside your body. Now I have one final question for you. Of these 5 habits,